Ooh, there we go. Hello everyone, one here, course time for another most interesting man of culture in the world, right? My favorite little personal live stream, SK here. Last week we talked about high school, right? We teach high school. Now instead talking about my demon book, right? No, my Bible, yeah. I have an old Bible, which I want to talk about right there. I have an old Bible, talk about how I got the Bible, and I mean, if I would use any kind of book, right, to summon demon lord, this would be the book, right? So I talk a little bit, of course, about demoning and so on, and obviously I talk about Bible Black. It is away from me to be able to be like Bible Black. That's some good old anime. It's a way for me to do that, right? It's one of my absolute, forever, right, favorite anime characters. No, it's okay. So I'll say some things first, something interesting with the whole, idea of demons or whatever, right, or isekais and so on in anime, right? Let's talk about it a little bit first. First of all, I just say this thing here first, right? I think it's interesting that I felt if you asked most people, right, most nerds or whatever, right, like 20 years ago, right, it would be like, oh yeah, demon summoning and some kind of selling your soul and this thing happens and so on, right? But today, I really do feel attacked to this kind of animes, right? I feel Satan has become hot, right? I feel Satan is hot now, I think it's what I say, it's always like, in today's modern anime and so on, it's always like this, right? It's always like, oh, I'm gonna summon the demon lord. Oh, it's gonna be either, of course, like a powerful demon lord, like massive, demon lord in this way, right? Overpowered demon lord, Isekai demon lord. Or it's gonna be a demon lord as this, like, okay, the demon lord is a hot chick, right? With big kahunas and so on. Yeah. Satan is attractive now. I wanna say that. I do think it's kind of funny that Satan, like Kitami and so on, it kind of, worked into that way, right? That it used to be a little more in fiction and so on, right? TV shows or whatever. You would you summon a demon using your ancient Bible or some similar, right? Or some more scripture, and you get a demon, right? And it's an old evil man, right? Maybe like a contract and so on. But today is that it's definitely an anime, right? An anime and so on. Yeah, you definitely in anime you're gonna summon like some kind of aqua, right? You're gonna summon like a hot chick, right? With some big oppai and so on. That's gonna be the demon you're gonna get, right? Or as I mentioned, of course, you will get. But I think it's more like this, right? If you are isekai and so on, right, in anime, so you're summoning them to you, right, so to speak, right? Basically, a person from our world, right? A human from our world being summoned to, right? To a demon world or to a fantasy or whatever, right? Then they will turn into a demon lord. Right? For example, how to summon a demon lord, Mahosa Maritri, and so on, right? Because then this human turns into a demon, right? Which is then overpowered, right? So then you get OP, right? Classic Isekai, right? But if you summon a demon to us instead, right? You summon a demon to our world, right? Summoning a demon here to Earth, then today I feel it is usually a hot chick, especially of course in the fan works, in fan stuff, or of course, or a demon will be obviously having double, gender, right? Yeah, that's probably I feel very common, right? Someone talking about in the family friendly mangas, yeah, definitely. Then the demon chick will have double equipment, right? And it also will be massive and usually can change stuff and so on. But anyway, so I just want to say that, of course, Bible Black, right? Very classic, one of the best games ever, right? But yeah, for that matter, right? Bible Black, most people have probably seen the anime, right? Let's be honest, you have seen the anime. But have you played the game? Unlikely, right? The game is pretty hard. I mean, I recommend playing it because it's a pretty funny game and you die a lot. It's a game where it has like 16 different endings and I think you die in like 13 of them. It's actually hard to do the right decision, right? It's like, you visual novel and having the right picks, right? What to do in different situations to not get, killed or something like that. It's kind of weird. But anyway, let's do the life story. But I'll give you a little bit of, classic. In my head, I'm thinking about that. I think it's interesting is that, okay, one more point before we get into my life story. I'm interested too because I think it's the same thing in other stuff too, honestly. I mean, in anime and manga and so on, the visual novels and all that, it is very much so, right? It's very much so that the demons are attractive, right? That the demons are very attractive, but you know what I mean. But even in other stuff, Supernatural, I'm a big fan of Supernatural. I watched them all life, right? Classic TV show, right? With the Wizard and so on, yeah. Supernatural, yes, Crowley and so on isn't very. He's pretty attractive for a man, But yeah, some of them are, the men are, the men are the men. But in that TV show too, right? There's so many, attractive females, right? Playing the different, crossroad demons and so on, and Ruby and so on, of course. It's with like wife and so on. Yeah, so a lot of those like I feel it's pretty classic, right? I guess in a sense you have the if the devil is gonna be a woman, it's gonna be a very hot woman. Yeah, because it's hot, right? I guess that's true. He has to be very attractive, but still though, I think it's more and more mainstream, right? If Lucifer is a girl, Lucifer's gonna be a very, very hot girl, right? It makes sense. It was all like, oh, I'm gonna seduce you, I'm gonna make you do bad stuff, right? Yeah, it makes sense. But the male Lucifer could be anything from a muscular hunk guy, because in new TV shows, to like an old man with like a cane, right? It could be anything, yeah. But I feel the female Lucifer today is very, very attractive in any kind of medium. Whatever. Let's talk about my stuff then. So. You might have seen this image before. I like this image here. I think it's compared to my Bible I have. So this is Codex Gigas, Satan. So this is an old book. It's a gigantic book for that matter. And the book I have, the Bible I have, is very similar actually in size. It's not as big, but it's very big. So that's the first thing I say, right? So I have this Bible then. We'll talk about how I got it. And it's about this. I don't have it at home. So don't come and rob me. I don't have it at home. I have it in a safe lock, so it's not here. But basically, it is about this size, okay? Like this size or so. One page, so you open it up, it's like massive, okay? So you open it up and it's like a freaking, a yard in this gigantic book. It's like 1 meter in, it's like half a meter, right? One page, right? So you split it up, it's huge, right? It's a very, very big book. But this then, the Codex Gigas, which I think is very similar to, but smaller than, is this famous Bible that you have in Stockholm, so the Royal Library in Stockholm, taken from during the 30-year War by the Swedish Army from Prague, right? There's a lot of legend about this Bible, right? But basically, it's like an old Bible, Burman Bible, and taken that by the Swedes in the League War, or 30-year War, as we call it Swedish. And you can go check it out at the library there. It's kind of weird. I've been there a few times. So the Royal Library in Stockholm has like this thing, basically. Yeah, the rest is like a library. But then this thing, even though it's like a super, $1 billion costing Bible, it's like, I don't know. It's it's just it's down in the basement and it's like guarded. But still, it's like it's kind of weird. It's not having the rest of the. Like when I was there the first time in my life a few years ago, I assumed it's gonna be a museum, right, for other stuff too. But this is the only thing they have, so it's kind of weird. Literally, like the only thing they have. They have only one museum exhibition. Is that thing. I mean, because there's a lot of museums, close to that place, right? So I'm like, why isn't this over there instead? It's a book, I guess, but whatever. The point is that the book I have is very, very similar, honestly. So if there was a book I would use to be like, I can finally summon my own demon lord, or to become the demon lord, I would use my book, right? Because the way I explained this, as this Codex Gigas, it's famous because it has this huge painting, right, of the, Beelzebub or whatever, right? Which is the most iconic image I saw you there. And if you go there, they usually have that in one spread, right? The book I have is very, very similar. So I will explain first how it looks before I explain the story here. As I mentioned, it's huge, right? It's like this kind of size. Very, very big. I mean, Gigas is like 2 meters. Okay? Gigas is like big as my body. So it's called, Gigas. It's big as my body, right? It's a gigantic book. Like this book is freaking like, it's like 300 kilogram book. It's ridiculous. Mine's not that big though, it's like half that size, but still really big, right? But what it's very similar to though, and why I do this whole demon lord summoning and so on, right? Let's turn into a demon lord, right? Actually, can I tell anime? I'll summon a demon lord. It's good. Come on, this was a good anime. I actually think it was pretty good anime. Not the best anime that year, but definitely an enjoyable listen. But anyway, the book I have, in a very similar manner, does have a lot of weird paintings, and I really mean that. Like you open it up and you're like, oh holy, this is like okay. So there's a lot of this, like it's handmade, right? And it has a lot of these. Oh okay, someone is like drawing Dante's Inferno. Oh interesting. Yeah, so there's like a lot of this. Like you open it up and a normal Bible, right? An average Bible, just a tiny little Bible, right? It has all the scripture, the holy parts, right? Explaining the different Jesus and different stories, right, of the Bible and so on, right? You know what I mean? But it's only text, right? Yeah, not this book, okay? That's what I mean. So I don't know exactly how much money, actual value this Bible has, but I do think it actually is. Again, I don't have it at home. That's why I don't in the video here, because I don't have it. I don't have a safe lock. I don't have it. I don't even have it. I don't even in the city even where I live currently. It's back in my home country, so I don't even have it here. So don't please don't drop me. But I think it actually is a Bible that's worth roughly at least, this is my own special, $10,000. Probably at least, because it is like an ancient, heirloom Bible. That being said, I'm coming to this soon here, but I haven't actually checked it out for any place. Because I'm like, I don't want to know actually how much it's worth, because, I'm not super religious, but it feels incredibly sacrilegious to, sell your ancient home family Bible, right? Gigantic old school Bible, if it's worth a lot of money. So I probably wouldn't do it unless it's worth like a lot of money, right? I'm like, $1 million? Oh, I'm gonna say yes. I'm like, I don't want to know what it's worth. I don't want to go to hell. It's kind of like that. But anyway, it's interesting. First of all, I feel, no matter how the money is, because it is very, very like anime demon. I'm not joking. It's very seriously. It's very anime demon. It's very like animated, that whole book, right? Because it's like, here's someone like fantasizing about, oh, I wonder how, the 7 circle of hell looks. So probably some hot chicks down there. So it is a very strange book, honestly, because I have a lot of this painting. I wish I can have it here now, but I haven't touched the book for many years actually. So still, yeah. But I wish I had it here, and I didn't want to, obviously, if I was super serious, I guess I would withdraw it. But man, it's also hard in that sense, because you don't want to, it's really old, so you don't want to, show it in photos and so on. You don't want to hurt the book, right? So it's quite a good discussion there. But anyway, so but literally it has that feeling. It's like, this is someone doing isekai. This is someone like writing. Like, I'm not even joking, but it feels like like someone doing, their novel, right? Yeah. Someone is like, well, if you have demons, they would definitely be like this, and then this would happen, and there's like a demon beast will attack them. So they draw this different stuff, right? Because it's a huge book, right? And every page is basically, it's like the text, right? Actually, the typical Bible stuff, right? And then the other side is like a huge painting. So it's crazy. But anyway, that's kind of how I got the book too. So here's the story how I got the book. So my great grandmother died. Okay, this is about 15 or so years ago. So it's a bit back. Yeah. My great grandmother dies, right? She was like 100. So she was actually really old. Good for me, right? Good genes, hopefully. An old Swedish Viking lady, yeah. No, but she was very old, and she died when she was like 99, 101, I can't remember now, 100, somewhere around there. And then we go to the family estate. She still lived. She lived in this mansion. There's been on the video. Subscribe for that button, yeah. So basically, my family has this like castle or mansion, and that. And again, it's been on the video in the future. But is it true? Yes. So I visited there a few times when I was a kid. I didn't grow up there. My grandfather grew up in this like huge estate kind of castle thing. My family has all the forest and the lake and so on. So like with my family, but it's a little weird in the Swedish law though, because people can still go to the forest or whatever. But still, like, basically owned by my family there. Again, I detailed that on the video. It would be interesting to talk about. So anyway, we go to this estate, right? So it's an old estate, and she's recently died, right? We're gonna take her stuff, right? Throw something away, maybe take some stuff, right? Maybe sell it, who knows, right? So we are there, right, with some of my closer family, right? Which is kind of like, inheriting some of the stuff, right? And with her son, then, my grandfather's brother, that's my great uncle, and he's of course getting half of that, right? And the rest of my family, because my grandfather's dead, so I mentioned in the last video, so we're getting, we are sharing the rest, right? So to speak, right? And she has huge amount of stuff, right? This is like a gigantic place, okay? So huge, many rooms and so on. And she kind of, how to say it? She kind of like this is seriously, it's like a Bible Black storyline. I'm not joking. This is seriously feels. I'm not joking with you guys. This is a Bible Black storyline, because she used to live in this huge mansion, right? But now she lives in kind of like the servant house, but she will be old because she wants to live there alone. So basically, all her stuff, she's taken like everything she had basically, and from like many rooms right into this like 3-4 rooms, So she has huge amount of items, right? And she kind of moved it all into the little house, right? Kind of the pool house basically, from the mansion to the pool house. In that sense, when she was really old, because she didn't want to live at home and so on, she wanted to live there instead. There's another story, but you know what I mean. So we kind of get there, it's a huge amount of stuff, right? And she was like living basically in one room, and you can argue she's a hoarder, then, right? Like she's hoarding everything, so she has so much stuff, right? And one thing she has interest too, for that matter, is she had a lot of photos, right? She had a lot of photos from her, her life. Taking photos because she got interested in, photography then very early, right? And again, this woman is born in like she's like born like 1905 or something like that, right? Yeah. So she's really old. Got into taking photos, right? In her young 20s, right? And of course, she's like a social elite, rich woman, kind of, right? Traveling around the world, So actually, a very cool collection of photos because she has a lot of course, photos from different countries and so on. America, 20 in 20s and so on, right? So actually, very interesting because she traveled a lot, right? And she had a lot of these, like thousands of photos collections she had taken herself over the years of her life, then, and of course mainly of like Sweden and the region. Where she was living and so on, but especially different countries. Very very cool. So the one room is that basically, and all stuff too. But usually about that stuff, you just use like piles of like photos in these different boxes and so on. Usually, stuff like that. Right? It's just like living like one room basically, not in two rooms that use stuff. And of course, as you can tell by the video here, right? I'm going through the stuff, right? And behind everything, I move some stuff, right? And I get into this like. A little secret area behind the corner and everything, and there I find that Bible. And so it's like a Bible black thing. I'm kind of like, I'm going through all my great grandma's hoarding in this castle, and I'm like, what is this thing behind everything? And I find this like gigantic Bible, right? Like a massive size Bible, right? It's not true. So in already there, in my head, I'm like, oh, this is my Bible black now. So my fantasy are like, oh, if I could summon a demon, it would be this. Now it's time for business card. No, but it's true. It was kind of like a Narnia thing again because she had so much stuff, right? Moved into a smaller areas, and this Bible was basically behind everything, right? And it was a perfect condition though. It kind of had in a box, right? And it was but it was very hidden away. Behind everything in the corner, it's like a wall sort of stuff in the way, right? So it was very, very in the back there, and immediately I was like, oh my god, I can cosplay Kuma now in One Piece. This Bible is so big, I can be a Kuma cosplayer. So no, but I took it up, right? And of course started looking at the Bible because it looked very interesting, and I realized this is like a really old Bible. This is like 400 years, maybe old Bible, something like 500 years at least. Something like that, right? I'm like, wow, it's like a really old Bible. It's in Latin, so it's not, in Swedish, right? It's an old school Latin Bible. And it's interesting because this is another side story here, which I learned later, is that the Bible is supposedly used to be owned by my ancestor. So I have an ancestor in my family, of course, who hasn't died, but I have an ancestor in my family that has almost exactly my name. We don't have the same middle name and so on, but we have the same, surname and first name. So so we have almost the exact same name. And he used to be the archbishop of the region there, where most of my family, the family lineage is from, whatever. Right? He used to be like the archbishop guy in this region, or something like that. Bishop. I don't know exactly, because he has my exact real name, right? So I don't know exactly, but basically, he used to be the bishop kind of guy there. It's supposed to be his book that he had in like the 7th century or 17th century, or maybe 8th century. He lived kind of across the century there. So he had that book apparently, and of course he probably got it somewhere else, right? Because it's like in Latin and so on, and it's handwritten, I believe so at least, and not print. It looks very good. It could be one of the early prints though, from the German, the printing press. Could be that. But I think it's roughly that age, like printing press kind of could be one of the early. Because thing is that I think it's printed some pages, but the art is done by hand, right? So it's like a mixture of handwork and printing. So I think it's one of these like the super old Bibles that kind of started printing during the printing press, because that was the first one did printing press. It's something like that, honestly. So something around that age, right? Kind of back to that gigas thing in Burma, the old Holy Roman Empire there. The same routine there. So anyway, yeah. So I get very fascinated by this Bible, right? And I read through it, right? And I'm like, oh, interesting. And of course, in my head, I'm just like, I'm with anime in my head. I'm like, oh my god, this is like demon chicks. Yeah, I'm like demon gals, demon gyros. No, but it's like a weird thing. I was like, holy shit, this is like. Freaking 500 years ago DeviantArt. This is freaking like Route 34 500 years ago. It's like finding some old hentai basically. Kinda. I was like, whoa, what is this crazy? It's like Berserk. Something like that. I was like, oh, I looked through it all right, and I speak some Latin, right? And I try to read it too. And it's it's very fascinating. So I just sit with that Bible and I just read it the rest of the day, right? And the rest of the family, they are like, they are going around, picking up stuff and whatever, they're cleaning and doing all the stuff. But I'm just like, this Bible, very interesting. I'm going to read the Bible, right? So on. But anyway, as I mentioned then, my great uncle, I think it's right, and my grandpa's brother, he gets most of the herds and so on. Yeah, he gets the book right, yeah. And again, the book is probably actually worth a lot of money, honestly. It's not like life-changing money. I don't think it's like worth like $1 million, right? But I think it's worth like probably like a good, it's like at least a month's salary, at least. I mean, that I'm sure of. I mean, it can't be worth. It's immaculate condition, so it has to be worth like that. And it's like, it's at least. I mean, I think it's true that the bishop in my family had it, the archbishop kind of guy in my family had it. He lived in, as I mentioned, he died like 1821, I think he died from there, and he, was born, yeah. So he was active, 19th century. So it's at least like 200 years old Bible, bare minimum. But I think it's a lot older than that. He got it from somewhere, right? And also it's not in the original language, but whatever. So my uncle gets it, right? And here's kind of the funny story then. I should say funny, but when my great uncle dies, which is quite recent then, not over recent, but a few years ago. So basically 10 years after, roughly, so that thing, right, at the estate. He dies, and his wife, he has a wife then, he's a doctor, she's a doctor, she gets all the money, so whatever, they had never children, so she gets all the money, right? So basically, this is the funny part. I mean, he's died, but it's the funny part from a comedic aspect. You gotta laugh stuff, right? And how I got this Bible then, as you can imagine, right, from the story here, is that his wife gets everything, right? He has no children, as I mentioned. She gets everything, and she gets all the money in the house and all that stuff, right? Of course, yeah, like obviously that's how it works, right? He has written much of a testimony, like he's like she gets everything, except, and this this is true, this is the truth. He has written a testimony where he's basically like, I don't care. My wife gets everything, except this Bible. My brother's grandson, he's gonna get the Bible. He's the only one that understands this like ancient. He's the only one appreciating the old religious art and so on. He's gonna get the Bible, and I'm like, yes, I appreciate it from my strong Christian roots. So there I sit, and they tell me that you're gonna get the Bible, and I'm like, yeah, it's not because I'm looking from it from a head ties perspective. So it's kind of awkward, right? Because I'm like, yes, exactly. I am clearly the most righteous and religious person in the family. That's why I should have the old Bible of the family. Yes, you're right, great grand uncle. Yes, it's kind of like that, right? So that's how I get the Bible, because this is another story. Because I mean, obviously, this Bible was like, this is like perfect stuff. This is a crazy thing, right? So I was like, whoa, it's crazy. So I was into it. I'm still into it. It's a very interesting Bible. It's a very cool Bible. But of course, I'm interested in it not from necessarily a Christian perspective, right? I'm interested from, like a, I don't know, cultural, fantasy, right? I would say everything except basically religious aspect. No, but I'm interested in it from like, whoa, it's very interesting. It's intriguing, right? Oh my god, look at their crazy fantasy, look at their dirty minds, kind of like that, right? I'm like, whoa. So it doesn't really feel like, I'm not looking at like, oh, it's a very interesting, picture here of hell. I'm just like, yes, that's hell, that's demon chic hell, yeah. I'm looking at it from that, I'm like, oh my god. So yes, I get this ancient heirloom there. So I'm the only one basically getting anything in testimony, right? Specifically to me, written by him, and I'm like, yeah, he must have observed me sitting there being very fascinated by this old Bible, right? And he's like, yeah, that kid, he gets it. He's the only man who gets it in the family. He's the only one who's still Christian in the family. He gets the Bible. He gets the family heirloom. And I'm like, yes. so then I get the Bible. I don't have it here, as I mentioned. And then I kept it away, looked it away, right? After I looked at it once more. This is like a few years ago now. But it's a crazy feeling too, because at the moment, right, as I mentioned in the beginning, I was like, man, should I sell this Bible? Because it's probably worth a lot of money, and I can invest the money, I can make more money. I can buy it back, I can build a strategy. And it's kind of thinking of that, right? But at the same time, I'm like, man, if you would believe in any kind of religion, it seems super sacrilegious to sell your Asian heirloom family, yeah. I was like, I can't do that, right? So I was like, I don't know, because so I never went and to apothecary or whatever to appreciate it, or what's it called again, whatever, you know what I mean. I'm some kind of history expert kind of guy to get that value right, because I'm like, if I do that and it's worth much more than I think it is, I probably will sell it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I say this thing. I used to say this thing, right? You can't bribe me because I'm rich. No, no. But I used to say that no one can bribe me because, I'm following my righteous purpose, right? Like last year, this is another story. I can talk about here details, but last year someone tried to bribe me, right? And I'm like, you can't bribe me with this shit. You can. I'm bribable, I'd rather have it my integrity than your money, right? So you can buy me. You can take my blood money. But that 3 years ago, another guy tried to bribe me as well, actually, unrelated company stuff, but still happened there. Same thing there. I'm like, you can't buy my integrity. I'm too pure for that, and I do feel that, like, it's really hard. I feel like I'm this one unbribable person. You can't really bribe me, and so on. And similar with this bribery, I can't sell that for money. It would be feel really wrong about it. But each time people try to bribe me, done this twice in my life, right? Every time after it happened, like last time, I was thinking that, well, they obviously can't buy my silence with this, money, right? That was thinking in my head. But then I was thinking, reflecting more afterwards, right? By reading it, and so on their mail, and okay, I'm thinking about, like, well, they can't buy my silence, not with that money. And I was thinking like that, yeah. I was thinking like, but I guess if they would have given me, I don't know, not like they were very cheap, so not like 10 times more. But if they give me like 100 times more, I mean, yeah, then I would be silent. I mean, that's how it is. Yeah, I still feel like if you offered me a monetary value, which is so groundbreaking, suddenly I can go and buy a house, 10 houses. I mean, like, more than that. Yeah, I can buy a house now. Yeah, but I can go and buy, this thing. I can, build my own company. I mean, like a big company or whatever. I can buy this stuff over here. So kind of massive, I mean, yeah. If it's money, I can buy a car. It's like, have money, yeah, one house, But if it's money that I can do this stuff, then I think you could bribe me. So if you're bribing in the future, no, but I think so. Right? I do think that on a personal reflective value, I'm almost unbribable. But I'm trying to be. I'm almost a very pragmatic person. And I do think that if someone would offer you like some absurd, like it's too good to be true deal that actually was true, let's say, I assume it's true then, would you be able to turn it down? If it's like a groundbreaking, life-changing monetary gain, right? Not monetary, but whatever it is, right? Yeah. Would you be able to turn it down? Maybe I could, I don't know. Because I am incredibly righteous, honestly. Maybe I don't know that, but I'm incredibly righteous. I'm always doing the right thing, and I feel... I mean, I would know that the money is bad money, so I probably would be a little bit. Honestly, I guess I would. Yeah, that's the question. Like, where is the limit where you can live with the money? I guess. But anyway, I've been thinking about that. As I mentioned previously in my life, right? For example, with these two cases, which I don't give example here, but I'll keep kind of vague, right, because of reasons. But so I think the same thing with this Bible. I'm like, this might be worth a lot of money. I don't know. I think it is worth. Honestly, I do think it is worth like a decent amount of money. Like basically you could sell it and pay for rent for a year or something like that. Yeah, like that value. I do think it is worth like that. And I think that's. But for me, that is not enough money, right, to kind of break some kind of like classic family value thing. And if it's wrong, right, yeah. So that's not enough money for me at all to even considering selling it, right. But if someone told me that, so that's why I'm thinking about it in the story because. When I got the Bible, when I heard the Bible from my great uncle, I was like, man, I wonder if I should go and sell it. And I was thinking about it for a few weeks. I was like, man, this must be worth so much money, right? I mean, obviously, if I had actually went and did a few reviews of it, and figured out that it's worth $1,000. I mean, it wouldn't matter, right? I must keep it. But now I was like, man, I don't know. Like I think it's gonna be worth more than that. And like, I don't think I can not sell it, right? If it's worth like $1 million, right? Like, it's be ridiculous amount of money. Then I have to sell it, That's not that much worth. It's kind of like that, yes. I don't know how much it's worth, but it's a crazy Bible. In a way, I wish I could show it here. The video feels stupid, I know, because I can't show it here. But it's just like, because it is so old. So I hope you understand my explanation here. Because it's so old, right? And it's quite it is in really good condition, but it still is like you barely want. You know what I mean? It's just an old book, right? It's kind of like you have these old books. I have some other books that I bought in my life. You know, that you collect books for like old, fantasy and so on. You know, those kind of first edition books that were little money, right? A few of those books, right? And it's like they're so old and so fragile. This is actually a very big thing, so it's more readable because it's so big, right? So even if one page is damaged, you can still read, or look at the 95%, right? Because it's such a big size of it, right? So actually the most pages are still fine, right? Because it's like even if some of the edges are damaged, but it's actually very fine condition though. But still, it's almost perfect condition, which is surprisingly, right? It was very surprisingly. But my great grandmother had hidden it away somewhere, right? So it's very like, maybe it's magic, right? Making it, maybe, but still, yeah. So you get that feeling. You're like, I kind of wish I would just take it out one day, right, and just photograph everything in it, right? Just for historical purpose too. But then you're like, man, this is gonna hurt it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like you're so afraid of doing that. But it's at least like 300 years old probably. So like, man, you don't wanna do it either, right? It's hard with those kind of stuff when you have like a book, right? Because you have to open the pages, and every time you do that, you hurt it. I mean, I'm a mean guy, okay? Same with my comics, right? I collect Spider-Man comics and so on, right? Similar comics, Marvel and so on, right? For many years. The same thing there. I read a comic one time, and then it's like back and yeah. I read it once, and then I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna read it again, and I push it away and I hide it. It's kind of like that, right? Yeah, you can't read it. Every time you read it, it's the value decreased, right? That's kind of how you think, right? Yeah. And of course, they said to me the Bible. I'm like, I can't read my Bible because every time I read the Bible, it's gonna be, of course, less valid, right? Yeah. But kind of that's one of the reason why I want to go at this, right, and take photos of it. Because it feels like if I do that, it's gonna obviously devalue it, but just like damage it, right? Which obviously that makes it devalued, but I mean it's gonna damage it, right? So yeah, felt a little silly doing this video, but in that sense. But I think it's an interesting story. I think it's a fun story because it really has like a 500 anime trip back there. No, but really, you look at it, they're like, oh, holy shit, this is some monk sitting there in solitude, and they're like, I wonder what happens if you get to, hell level 5, with a lot of like, this kind of, some kind of fox demons maybe. Yeah, it could be interesting. Some kitsune chicks, yeah. It's kind of like that. You're like, whoa, this is interesting. But most, of course, it's a lot of hellfire and burning and skulls and so on. Yeah, it's mostly a lot of like, if you do X, you get, this is your punishment. Absolutely, like 50% of those art in that book is mainly like, if you do this sin, this is your punishment. It is mainly that, but it's interesting. It's mainly a lot of those classic art where you're like, okay, this thing happens. Of course, in the beginning it's more friendly, God did this and then God did this. In the beginning it's more friendly, right? It's like, this is the creation of the world, it looks fine, and then afterwards it's like hell, more, more or less, right? So like, okay, it starts out good, and then the ending is not very family friendly anymore. But anyway, yeah, that's my Bible story. It obviously would be the book I would use to summon a demon lord, or something similar. But yes, hello Yuri, it's getting back in my end of my story here. So yeah, open for any questions. Perfect then, because I just kind of finished my Bible story. I also went to Bible camp as a kid. No, but I actually went to, as another side note for that matter, thinking about it earlier today, I actually went to like, how to explain it, but I went to a kindergarten that was called the Ark, actually. It was named Arken then, but the Ark in Swedish. That actually was like Sunday Bible school, but every day instead. So I actually have quite that, like how to say it, quite Christian. I'm definitely a very cultured Christian, right? If you can talk about that stuff. But yeah, for that matter, I throw it out here completely random because I just finished my old school Bible story here. But talking about watching stuff, I'll say it here then because it's an anime focused video, right? I have watched, of course. No, but seriously, I found a new anime, and it's not a new anime, but I found an anime yesterday that I have never heard about before, and I binged like 5 episodes yesterday. I was like, oh, this is really funny. And the anime is, how's it pronounced? It's pronounced Saba Gebu, Survival Game Club. So I don't want to see it. I was throwing it out, but I found it yesterday, and it's about a girl going to like some kind of gun nut, survival club, survival game club, Saba Gebu. I guess Gebu is like a shortening of gaming club, right? And Saba for, I guess, survival. No one's ever seen it. Like I found it yesterday, and I throw it out here now in the streamer, or like in the less part of the stream, because this is really funny. Like seriously, I haven't even finished the anime yet, but Survival Girls, that to me was like one of the funniest comedy I've seen in a while. Like probably better than anything I've seen this year. Like holy shit, it's like an anime from 14, I think, or something like that. Manga and 17. I think the anime is from like 14. I never heard about it before. I found it random. Yeah, see, it's underrated. Yeah, see, you know it. See, finally, see, I trust you. I knew you would see it. I knew someone was gonna have seen it. Yeah. Miyu is the president, awesome. But yeah, I found it yesterday. Never heard about it before, and it's a really funny anime. I think I have to feel like I have no video about it probably. I can review it probably on channel probably next week or so. Because I watched like 5 episodes yesterday in a row. I was like, holy shit, it's really funny. The main character is so evil. Momoka-chan, she's so evil. The main character is Satan herself. It's a spoiler, but it's a scene right where she draws with other girls. When they have like, oh yeah, we have a draw. Yeah, you can't kill me, I can't kill you. It's a tie, girl. And they're like, yeah, okay, let's have a tie. As soon as her enemy removes the gun, shoots her, I'm dead. It's like, you said tie. It's like, no, I win. It's like basically every time she has a moment where a normal main character would be like, oh, I'm gonna, have some kind of deal, right? Some kind of agreement on friendship or whatever. She betrays them immediately to always win. I love her so much. The main character makes her really funny because she's so pure evil. It's all about winning in any case, in any method, right? It's hilarious. It's hilarious. But when I have a Hugh here, you must have played, of course, one of the best anime games ever, right? Which of course talked about at the beginning here. This is why I'm making this stream, right? Because it's a chance for me to talk about one of the best games ever, one of the best animes ever, right? The old school Bible Black. But I'll say it again here on the stream here, because I know a lot of people have seen, of course, Bible Black. Bible Black, I mean gaming. when I say anime game, I mean friendly game, right? But I'll say it again there. I think Bible Black is one of the most famous animes that most people have seen, right? But no one's almost played the game, right? It's actually based on a game, right? Famous game company, and they made a few games too, of course, which is very similar. The art is very good, right? And like the discipline and so on. And what do they call now? The company Empress, right? I think they call now the newest company they're working on. But anyway, I'll say it again, emphasizing that thing actually. Bible Black, everyone has seen it, I feel. No one's played the game, and the game is freaking hard. I just wanna be like, I just wanna say it again here. I find it's funny that no one's almost ever like played this game, because I remember when I played this game after I seen the anime, and I was like, oh, I died. Got a replay. I died again. I got a replay. I died again. It's like, oh the hell! It's like it's hard. It's like I think it has like 16 to 17 endings. And you almost die in every one of them, as I mentioned earlier. It's kind of crazy. You play this game and you're like, man, this is hard, man. This is really hard. And then the follow-up game is such a bad game. The follow-up game, Disciple, is such a... how do I say it? I'll say it here. We're talking about Bible Black here. The follow-up game is not much of a game. That's the problem. So it has 4 different endings, but it must be about Dragon Age. So basically, you play the whole game, right? Nothing you decide. I hate this in any game. So nothing you do in the game, in any game. I mean, any game. You play the whole game, right? And then you get to the last part of Disciple, like the last, option screen. Like, what do you want to do? X, Y, or Z. It's like 4 options, and that's the only thing that matters. Like, every other option you had before didn't matter for the different endings. So that's the only thing that matters, how you get the ending. It's so frustrating. So it feels not much like a game, but it's more kind of, it's just a story then. And for that matter, I can throw it out here because I was felt this thing. As I mentioned, Dragon Age, it's that same thing. People are always like, Dragon Age is so awesome, you have all these options, you can, pick different, you can waifu different, you can, seduce this elf girl and do this shit and so on. And that's true, but when it comes to the main story of Dragon Age 1 at least, nothing actually really matters. until the last like mission, basically. What you do there, like everything else before doesn't matter. Like how you can play the game, you can be evil, you can be good, doesn't matter. You can play Dragon Age in any way you want until the last mission, basically. We have that Morgana thing you can have to pick there with the dragon and so on, and that is the only ending that matter for you. Everything else before that, there are like 500 options, doesn't matter. And but yeah, but that's a good point I'd say generally here, you know, because I've been working on many games myself, right, for many years, and I haven't unfortunately worked too much. Fortunately, but I haven't worked that much on, I guess, like story-driven games in that sense with options and so much. Sure, I made a few, you know, visual novel games, like a text-based game, when I was a kid, right? But yeah, I always hated that in any game, right? Where you have so many options, you know, and then the end is like, here's the last option, and that's the only thing that matters, right? Because basically what happens is you have maybe like 100 different paths, right? The player has many different paths, right, to get to this last ending screen. And as the player, of course, you imagine that, oh, you know, no matter how I got there, should be the important thing, right? Because I made 100 different decisions, right? 100 different options, whatever, right? I picked this thing, they killed that guy, did that thing, right? Seduce her, so on. But in the end, not really. But yeah, I feel unfortunately, I wouldn't say a lot of games are like that, but I think it's very noticeable that there are quite, I think, the big margin of games is that, right? Especially, I think, unfortunately, in you know, the family-friendly games. You know what I mean? You know, the this kind of games. No, but I do think so. Honestly, I think it's been a lot of games, family-friendly games, where they definitely have the issue. Like you have like a household. You know, you have your 5 waifus, right? And no matter what you do with any waifu, it's only the last option where they're like, who do you love the most? And like that's the only way the game actually casts your ending. I mean, in most games, you know, it's depending on. I think in most games, the way they code it right is basically the decision right. So if you have 5 waifus, right, and you spend 3 dates with one waifu, right, and the next waifu you have 4 dates and so on, right. Usually you just take the one you have the most dates with, right, would be your wife, right. Usually that's usually how they do it, right. Which I think is a little better, definitely a little better, definitely a lot better. But unfortunately, in some games, like the BioBlack, the sequel, but like the spiritual sequel, it is unfortunately a game where it's like, oh, no matter what you did before, you just get the lad. This is the only decision that makes matter, right? Which is so strange too, because as I mentioned, right, in BioBlack, in the first game, you had like so many options, right? You had so many endings, and actually it was really hard to even figure out how to get to different endings and how to get the true ending, how to get the different wives, how to survive and so on. So it's actually a hard game to figure out the different paths actually. Like it was like a hard game to even. There's so many options. It was so hard to actually understand how to do everything. And you had to replay the game like 20 times to be able to finally survive in the game basically. And then the next game was like nothing mattered. In the next game, nothing mattered whatsoever. I was like, holy shit, that was such a downgrade. I like the company, but that was such a massive downgrade. You're going from like epic option game into like one option. Like the worst case, the worst version of these kind of games, right? But yeah, actually, as a side note, like I talk about it here, because I like to rant, right? But as a side note, I wrote a paper about this, or like an article and so on, and sort of a paper about this many years ago. Not just this thing, it's about 15 years ago now. I'm old, right? But what I wrote about, not that I really hate, is the whole pseudo choice, which I probably even hate even more, right? Of course, pseudo is like a fake thing, like an illusion, right, of something. And in a lot of games, I mean, it's more game thing, right? In a lot of games, especially these dating games, so on, right, waifu games, there is a lot of places where like, no matter what you pick, it actually doesn't matter. That's even worse. Yeah, you have like, what do you wanna do? A, B, or C? And if you pick A, you go on date, waifu A, right? If you pick B is like, I don't like you anyway, and then you get waifu A anyway, right? And C is the same thing, and you're like, like, that is the worst thing in the game. That's the worst thing in these games, right? Where you have, like, there's like an option of choice there. You think at least it's a fake, an illusion of choice, right? And it's not even a choice. Classic thing, Zelda. Okay, Ocarina of Time, classic game, another game, right? But that game has exactly that thing that happened when you meet Zelda the first time in the garden, right? she asks you like, "Oh, do you want to help me? You know, hero of time. You know, young Link. You know, yeah." She's like, "Link, come and save me, right?" You know, Link is not as sexy in that game, but still, you know, she's like, "Yeah, Link." And as Link, then you can decide to help her or not, right? Or you can't, but I mean, the game presents a choice to you. Like, do you want to help her? Do you want to promise to help her? Yes or no? And if you pick no, she's like, "Please, Link, I love you." It's like, no. I'm like, "But I love you." No, and you keep going back. But yes, you can't avoid not helping Zelda, right? I mean, it makes sense from a game aspect, but you know what I mean. You get stuck in that loop there where you're like, why can't I even decide here? See what I mean? Like, I don't understand it in the game. Like, why does the game even offer me an option of yes and no here, that if I press no, the game's gonna take me. You have to say yes, but I wanna press no when the game put yes. You can loop it forever. You can't escape it. You have to put yes there. I think that's a very classic thing in many games, many old school games, where you get stuck in that. You can't even. The game won't even pretend there is a different choice, right? It's like yes means yes, and no also means yes. Like that's how the game plays it, right? That's very unfortunate and very, I feel, quite standard, right? But on that sense, though, I think it's worse today, actually, right? In that sense, because that's how it used to be, right? Like 20 years ago, whatever. But today, it's like it's still like that in some games, right? That if you press no or whatever, a B option, you still get the A option, right? You still get up to the A option, and it's really irritating. But in the newer games, it's hidden, right? Yeah, they pretend that it's like, oh, it's a, you know, the dialogue is like changed very, very slightly. It's like you get one other sentence right, then it goes back to A, right? So basically, it's like, no, I don't want, and then it goes up, yeah, and you're like, oh, yeah. So I think that feels, you know, quite sinister, right? Yeah, quite demonic, as this video is about, right? Quite anime demon, yeah, quite demonic. It's like you pretend that the player picks the B option, but it still is the A option. You're like, man, it's almost better in the old games where the game will force you to repick, right? So you knew that you had to pick A. But yeah, like, man, some of those waifu games, right? Some of them are amazing, and some other ones are like, I mean, it's hard, right? Some of them I really like because the art is all right, of course, and the general story. But some other ones are like, man, this should. I honestly hate, but I'm always disappointed when we don't have any actual options, right? Yeah, we don't have an actual. I mean, I want it to be a game, though. I want it to be a game, yeah. That's too much to be an anime. I want it to be a game, right? So you actually have to, you know, decide some options and so on. And I can definitely do a video about this one day. I think interesting to mention earlier when they have this, how to say it, like a kind of hidden stat thing, right? When you're going for, you know, the true horror mending, when you want to have, you know, like if you play, like I did the Persona, right? Like I did in Persona with the true horror, you know, true horror mending. Yeah, I got everyone in 10 heart, right? In that game, it's very clear. You need to date everyone. So in Persona, you need to get everyone to 9 heart, right? And then you can date them at 9, right? Your sensei and your doctor, and yeah, it's a lot of milfs in that game. Yeah, it's a lot of older ladies in that game. It's very nice. But in that game, it's very clear. You get to 9 heart, right? And then you can date everyone and get a horror ending, and it's hilarious. Of course, it's a true, you know, man of culture ending, right? But in many other games, it's like to get the horror ending, you need to have like, you know, 4 dates with everyone, right? You know, you need to have some kind of middle ground. So that's interesting. In other games, we don't actually show you. No, that was so horrible. That not remind me of my failed. Not remind me of my failed Persona lifestyle. Yeah, when I played Persona 5, right? I mean, it's a great game, but when I played it, right, I missed out on the fortune teller. See, Uneshan there, which is strange too. The game doesn't really tell you that. Yeah, that was very disappointing because the game doesn't tell you that you failed that until you get to the end. So that was really mean of the game in Persona 5 because basically, I think it's her like 5 or 4 heart question. She asks something, and it's not really even that clear that you even like, you know, that it matters. And if you pick the wrong thing there, then at like 9 heart or 10 hearts, you can't date her. So it's like that's not good, in my opinion, good design, right? Because as a player, there's no immediate feedback for me that I can't date her now, right? If I knew that at, you know, heart 4, I would reload and replay the day, right? But now it's like, oh, 30 hours ago, I pressed the wrong thing. I'm not gonna replay 30 hours of Persona 5. I mean, it's a good game. I'm gonna replay half the game to get back here, you know. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, they told me after I finished the game basically that I played the game wrong, right? And it's actually the exact same thing with Oya, I think, and also Thea. I think they also have, you can fail them too. I think you failed 3 of the ladies actually, all of the MILFs, yeah. But it's not very clear in the game that you actually failed that dating with them in Persona 5. And especially is that, I think it makes it even harder to understand that game is because you do fail them, and if you fail it, you instead of getting that the love note, right? You get this love, music note. It's 1 to 3, right? So you'll get a 3-1 at that conversation that day, sure. But in all the other dates with them, you can also fail and get like a 1 instead of 3 heart sign hearting, and that's fine. So it's also like, because you play the other days, and if you fail the conversation, right, you get a slower romance with them. Yeah, your romance takes 1 more day, but you don't actually fail to be able to become their boyfriend, right? So that's weird too, and that unfortunately, yeah, I missed one of the girls there for my perfect harem there because, yeah, I answered wrong to her like 30-40 hours early in the game. I told her the wrong thing, and then she hated me for but you can't go for it with her later on. And it's weird too because she's the only woman that asks you just straight up. She asks you, I put it on Twitter, right? She asks you, do you like old ladies? It's like, do you like some Ubashan? Like she's the only woman that's like, do you like Ubashan? Like, yeah, like she's the only one that literally asks you straight up, do you like the little more experienced lady? Yeah. Man, Grace trusted me a lot that I couldn't date fortune teller. Yeah, cause I got like whatever, there were 9 girls, I guess, whatever it is. Like, yeah, 9 out of 10 that. Oh my god. Oh, frustrating. It's also because it is a side note here, but in the Persona 5 side note, we can look at my review of the game to get this away. But in the game to Persona 5, you want to date the fortune teller first too, because if you date her, she helps you date everyone else, right? So if you want to have the full, harem ending in Persona 5, you need to actually date the fortune teller first, because then she speeds up all the other romance, all the bromance, all of it. So you need to date her first, right? So basically, I date her, right? I get her to high romance levels, so I can date everyone else faster, and then very much later, I realized, wait, I can't date her now. What I did wrong? So I thought like the maximum distance from, the issue I had, right? The mistake I did to get the full harem to the maximum harem, right? So I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I failed in the beginning of the game, not recently in the game. So that's why Persona 5 didn't get a full score from me. That's why I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. Because I was like, didn't get my 10th wife, bad game. No, but it's a good game. I think unfortunately Persona 5 to me, I think it's a good game, but for me it actually fails more in the combat, right? I think the game is way too I say the dating part, the wife part, that's the best part, yeah, by far, right? The whole dating, that game part is amazing. And I think the combat is unfortunate because, in my opinion, this is way too easy after the 1 palace. Joker becomes too powerful, right? Joker gets every element. You capture every monster, right? And he's immortal. You have like 5 revives and counter and full life, and you're immune to all the elements. And like Joker becomes more and more OP. He goes like an Isekai Rimaru kind of OP looking at. He's absorbing everything, and you can't damage him and so on. So I felt after like Palace 3 or so, playing the actual game, the combat in the game was just kind of boring because you enter a fight, at the boss fight, and you're like, I'm immune to everything you do. Punch, boss dead. It was kind of like that, yeah. So you basically have like a Rimaru that just absorbs everything and gets into it. You're like, I'm absorbing everything, and you're like, yeah, okay. So I think that's fortunate for me in Persona 5. But yeah, currently I'm playing Tony Hawk now. So I'm gonna play soon here on Twitch. I think I go to the gym. I'm going to the gym now after this, and then I'm gonna play some Tony Hawk, which I used to play a lot right as a kid, right? Old classic game. And then my next game, as I mentioned probably last live stream, I think it's going to be 30 Sentinel, right? I think it's out next week, which I'm looking forward to. It's a waifu game. And now it's set on, little less than 2 weeks. Beginning of 2 weeks from now. We have this interesting game too, right? So anyway, in next live stream, which I might do on Sunday, I'm quite booked the next week. So right now I'm trying to do some Thursdays, but I think I'm gonna go over to Sundays probably in the future. It depends, or maybe do it later, like now, later on Thursdays. But my next live stream is gonna be on here then. It's gonna be the the fall guide, right? Yeah, next live will be the fall guide, talking about all the animes coming in season, right? Talking about the new animes, and I absolutely, of course, for me, the biggest thing immediately, right, is Golden Kamuy, right? I don't care about all the animes. That's the anime I care about. Yeah, for me, by far, the biggest anime next season. I gotta do a quick check here before I forget there. But like for me, it's. I was thinking of playing Fall Guys because everyone else is doing it, but I'm so like contrarian, so I can't play it because it's so popular. Yeah, next season, Golden Kamuy for me, and then I don't know. Done managed or something. I thought about it more in the next more talk about live stream. But I only care about. But yeah. Here we go. These are waifu anime coming in this season, right? That's obviously number 2 next season, and that is Iwa Kakuru Sport Climbing Girls. No. This is the beginning. Maoka. Yeah, okay. No. Sport anime, climbing girls, man. That's gonna be the anime. But girls that are very muscular, so they're muscular chicks too, and they're hot, right? They're muscular, got some good abs. These are my ab chicks. You know, I'm gonna love muscular chicks, right? They're muscular chicks, and they're gonna like do rock climbing or something like that. That's gonna be my anime. Yeah, but yeah, that sounds good. But is it better than 2 and 4 rock climbing waifus? That's the anime I'm excited for now. Then we have Higurashi as well and so on. We'll talk about more in the next live stream though, but in the talking live stream. But yeah, Maoka is like ranked 3 here. But yeah, the Romos Hanku is back. Oh yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen sounds pretty good, right? It's pretty popular from Mappa there. That might be a good anime. I mean, a couple of interesting animes next season. But again, I say it here again, right? Immediately. Golden Kamuy is easily the best thing. I mean, I said it in 2 years later. Golden Kamuy, right, for me, was by far the best anime 18. Like, by far. I mean, and I really loved Place for the Universe, right? So I mean, I cried like every episode, right? So it was a good anime. But Golden Kamuy was like, it was amazing. Golden Kamuy 18, I was like, this anime is crazy. You watch every episode, someone is dying, something is exploding. It's like this anime, there's so much storyline. Every character is insane. Everyone's a psychopath. The anime is so good. Golden Kamuy, in my opinion, is like the most underrated anime in the history of mankind. It's like an anime, in my opinion, again, that was the best anime that year, and I feel more people didn't even see it. So that's going to be next season, and it's like ranked like 30 or something in next season popularity. People are crazy. Golden Kamuy is the best ever. But yeah, come on. What abs anime? Yeah, abs anime is gonna be amazing. I'll talk about it more in the next time again, but I see the media here. Abs anime. What's the name again? Iwa Kakuru. Sport climbing girls, right? They're fit, they're climbing, and it reminds me of oh my god, it's called like Jetgirls, right? All the angles are like they're climbing, and the angles like look at her climbing, right? And all the angles are family friendly angles, right? Kimi no Boku no, I haven't looked at every trailer yet. I'll do it on weekend, probably tomorrow and Saturday. And I'll try to do it live stream either next Sunday or Thursday. But what's that one about? The Empires and Mechas Utopia. Some kind of Utopia with mechas. Military mechas. Mortal enemies. Okay, it's a cute girl and a boy that are enemies, also probably lovers. See, I knew it. Yeah, see, I'm reading the storyline. I'm like, so 2 cute young people meet each other on the battlefield and then they fall in love. I was like, I knew it. I knew they were gonna fall in love. They became attracted to each other, even though they have different ideas and lives. It's a Romeo and Julia story, yeah. Yes, Candice boy and girl find love for each other, right? It's some interesting animes. But anyway, yeah. Now then, I have to go to the gym now. I need to go to the gym before it's too late. But I'm gonna play this game. I say it again. I finally got it yesterday, right? Because I didn't. Man, I'm angry. Thought about it yesterday on Twitch. I pre-ordered, right? Of course, way earlier. Tony Hawk Pro Skater. supposed to arrive last week. I didn't finally got it yesterday, so that's what I've been streaming. Let's see that on Twitch. Tony Hawk, and I used to be the best player in my country. Right? I used to have the record. I literally won the mastership, the SM mastership of Tony Hawk 3 and 4 and so on. So I say that now, but I'm not that good player yet in the new games. But I'm easily get 6 score at least. Yeah, the first minute, and I'm like, oh, he's the perfect score. No, but like it's really fun to play. I'm talking too much here, but Tony Hawk for me is very important too, because not for me but for the world. Okay, so maybe I can read about that. But Tony Hawk is a game because PlayStation 1 as a game console, right, is the console actually that made gaming cool, right? Okay, so before that we had like SNES, Super Nintendo. They had many amazing games, right? They had a great library of games. But at SNES and Genesis and so on, Sega Mega Drive, gaming wasn't popular, right, among casual, just the general, people, right, so to speak, used by the nerds. PlayStation 1 is actually the most important console, because that is the console that actually got people to buy it. They weren't, nerds, so to speak, right? They weren't otakus, so to speak, right? More or less, right? But the game that made all happen really is this game. Seriously, this game, but the first game, because I of course have it as well. But yeah, Tony Hawk was like the first game when you could see the normal people, so the cool kids being like, wow, that's a cool game, you can play a skateboard and do this cool tricks and so on. It's cool gameplay, right? So that actually was the first game that we actually really attract, the skaters and, the football and so on, and actually play a game, right? So, an interesting game to play in that sense too, from a historical aspect, in my opinion. But it's objectively, actually the first Tony Hawk game sold millions and millions of copies. And it mainly sold a lot because it sold to people that usually wouldn't buy games, right? So actually was a very interesting thing there. And I would say the second important game on PS1 is FF7, right? Of course, FF7 was, graphically, it was just amazing, right? So another game that also sold many copies, right? Because a lot of people bought it, right? Because the graphic, the CGI, right? The actual scenes, right, were so amazing for its time, right? They were like breathtaking. And it really was. 97, like, what is this? I remember they had Fight 7, right? And I, played it, at home, and I was playing to my friends at school, and they'd be like, "Oh, he's talking crazy! It's like, this guy is insane!" And I'd be like, "No, I go to my place, and I will show you use the cutscenes." And I had saved it in cutscenes, right? And I showed them use the cutscenes, and they were like, "Whoa, what is this? It's amazing!" Of course, we actually looked at this right with the head hands to one, but FF7, I think, was amazing, right? The pixelate style. Do you mean the SNES thing, the sprite thing? I also have missed that more. If there's one thing I miss more from the PlayStation 1 thing, is like I have more 10 minutes here. I need to go to the gym soon here. But I would say one thing that I really miss, right, when it comes to PlayStation 2, I'm throw it out here on the stream I can talk about. One of my favorite games to PlayStation 1 here. Anyone ever played this game? No one's ever played this game, but it's like the best game in PlayStation 1, but no one ever played. Which I always recommend, and of course why it's lagging for. Come on, give me the. It should appear in this folder. Stupid computer. Sorry for this. Now it's like what's happening. I got a new image, right? And I wanna. There we go. Finally, it's like a lag thing. There we go. Like I think this is what I miss the most from PlayStation 1. This kind of graphic, right? It just fit the screen there, but yeah, this kind of graphic. You have this kind of like this perfect, like sprite kind of. PlayStation 1 still had that game, right? They kind of had that when they're keeping the Super Nintendo kind of style to it, but they made it more, how I say it, more clean looking or whatever you want to call it, right? That's probably what I miss the most from these kind of games, right? Yeah, FFT, exactly. Yeah, FFT. I was thinking of Sequoia too. I'm trying to get a good image of Sequoia, but this is the burning in the beginning of the game here. This is how I'm gonna do things. Yeah, okay, it's in. My computer's lagging. I have a new computer almost, but it's it's. I don't know. I'm probably having too much stuff in the background. Sorry for that. But the FFT is awesome, of course. FFT is done, but the FFT, of course, awesome, right? Another game that I love, of course, right? You know, one of my favorite games, right? All time, right? Suikoden 2, also similar, you know. God, why can't I get an image that fits the screen? But you know what I mean, yeah. These kind of games, right? I think that's what I'm missing the most from PlayStation games, right? And today you do see that in indie games, right? They do the indie games and they go retro and they're trying to kind of make it happen, right? Like Stardew Valley, so on. They're kind of trying to emulate that. But I don't think that most indie games does it in a good way, because I feel that most indie games, they're too much like, it's gonna be like SNES graphics, right? But you know, modern wise, so they kind of better color and hue and so on. But they are, in my opinion, almost too pixelated. I kind of actually prefer this thing here, the PlayStation 1 games that kept doing the 2D graphics, right? But they really like perfected that 2D graphics. I think, but yeah, I mean, ogre games, of course. You know, my idol, right? Yeah, I say this on Discord too. My idol was always, you know, Yasume Masuno, right? The person behind, you know, Ogre Bat, Titus Ogre, FF12, right? FFT, you know, Commercial Bag and Story. So he was always my idol, right? But I wanted to make video games. I wanted to be like him, right? And he kind of, you know, went into the wall, right? He did too much work. He went kind of crazy, right, so to speak. And as a kid, then reading that he was like quitting the game industry because he was like, he worked so hard that he couldn't like work anymore. You know, most people be like, that's too hard. I was like, that's my inspiration. I was like, that's how it should be. It should go crazy. That's how you make art. I was like, that's man, what a legend. I was like, what a legend. That's how it should be. I was like, yes, that man is crazy. But one last game I was looking at, right? It's like not a good image, but whatever. There's a better image, better clean image. Another game I was looking at though from PlayStation 1, right? And of course I played, you know, the recent remake of the third game, right? Trace of Mana. But it has, of course, no image fits the screen. I'm just taking random images now on the internet here, but yeah, Legend of Mana, of course. This might be the best looking PlayStation 1 game, right? Arguably, it is just like. It's really amazing, like how it looks, the graphic, all the backstory, and like all the you know all the where's my hand? This all the my hand, all this you know, or whatever. In my point, yeah, all like the backgrounds and so on, and the music. But yeah, so that's actually what I want from the indie people more, right? Indie companies. I wanted to make it look like that, right? But I would say this thing too, though. It is much cheaper, of course, to make, you know, pixelated SNES graphic, right? It's much cheaper. It's much doing this kind of like almost kind of a painting looking thing. It takes a lot more time, right? So it's more expensive, right? And also for that matter, it is easier, way easier, right, to find an artist that can just do like a pixel graphic, which is an artist that actually can draw like a nice background painting, like Legend of Mana. That requires a lot more skill, right? And also a much more, I would say, uncommon skill to have. So it's much harder to do that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm currently working as some kind of, I don't know, director, kind of design director kind of thing right now again here, like I did last year. So I don't know. I'm gonna have a lot of interviews with people and so on. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Looking at that stuff, how people think and so on. I'm quite. This definitely not a video. And maybe even on the channel that I think I'm doing a gaming channel, right? Even though this is also my gaming channel, but I'm in a gaming industry channel. Where I talking about, you know, actual game industry, not actually like reviewing games or it's like talking about different stuff like that, right? And one thing I will say though, which is like a bitter realization for me, but honestly, I want to rant about here. I have to go to the gym now in 10 minutes, but I will do a really short rant here, guys. One thing though that makes me bitter though, and also the sun's going down makes me bitter too, for that matter. That the camera now is like super bad. As if I do a long live stream, try to just get this light up a little bit, like that. Okay, yeah. So now I'm like, you know, it's like fake light now. But anyway, fake light, it looks good at least. One thing that I'm bitter about with the games though, and I say it here, this is probably gonna be another video one day or another channel or whatever, because I want like the rant, right? But with the indie games and so on. How would I say it? I'm not super impressed though by youth today. I'm an old grumpy man. No, but it's like I think one issue is, and I have written about this for a while now, I'm trying to like kind of formulate it in a good way. I haven't published it anywhere, but I'm trying to actually really formulate this. But in my experience, the latest like 5 or 6 years now, especially the latest 2 years, and you know, it's how to say it. I think that a lot of people wants to games, right, and anime and comics, so on, right, pop culture, nerd stuff is cool, right, and I feel there's a lot of people, there's more people than ever, right, that has your resume, and I get a lot of resumes. People have resume all the time, right? And on LinkedIn and so on, I get a lot of resumes and people talking to me. So it doesn't matter what I do, I just get a lot of stuff, right? But what I see, unfortunately, so it's gonna be a short rant here about new companies. But I think a lot of people today doesn't actually like making good games, in a sense. So it's about throwing out the dark. That would be a good video, I feel, right? Not a good discussion, I feel, one day in my life. But I think the reason why, and let me explain it shortly here then, and just again subscribe for my. I will try to explain it in a proper way later one day. But I think that the issue I feel, this is not everyone, but like some set of people, is that a lot of people today, they're kind of it's like they're just doing games, you know. They are like, oh, I just want to do games, and what I mean with that is that this definitely could be in one of my other videos for that matter, right? Not a live video here for me for that matter. But when I was a kid, okay, when I was 8, so I was people. When I was 8, I started doing my own games. Already when I was like 8, 7, and so on, kind of that age, I sat down with my PC, right, and I was actually making maps for games, right. I was already at that time. I was making Mathematic 2, especially a lot as a kid. As I mentioned, Tony Hawk. I was doing on skate parks in that game, the first game there, right. Having friends play them, right, test them out, so on, right. When I was older, I was very involved in the Warcraft 3, right, in the Dota community, making that map, selling heroes, so on, right, and other similar MOBA games, like Anime Wars, Naruto Wars, Red Winter, and that kind of stuff, right, and other those kind of games, and then Naruto Wars and Bleach and Soul Arena and that stuff, right. So very very early for my life, I was very involved in I love games. I love anime and so on, right? But I wanted to make my own, anime and games and so on. So I was creating my own stuff, right? I wrote my own first book when I was 14. I wrote a fantasy book, right? When I was 16, I wrote another book. So you know what I mean? I kept just creating stuff, right? And as you see here now, I'm creating. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Also, one reason why I haven't done much YouTube until recently, right? Because YouTube was new. I was like, that's interesting, but I'm doing all that other stuff anyway. Yeah, I'm doing other creative endeavors, right? But so to speak, right? In all the kind of areas, right? But anyway, so that's what I look for, right? In like a game developer. So it's a tip for anyone trying to get a job from me now, that I'm looking for people, right? That are like they want to make games and they also want to make games, right? You don't have to be like 8 and be like, I want to make video games, but it's kind of like that, right? Like what I'm looking for people is that I think one thing I just read like 10 resumes today. And one resume I liked, the other ones I didn't like, because only one of them he had done his own games. I won't say good games, but he tried at least to make games when he was in high school. Right, he was the only one that he had written on his resume and so on that he has done some different gaming, right, actual producing some kind of games. But he was like 15, 16 and so on, right. Everyone else only had game projects, right, from when they were like 20 and so on, right, like the games they had done in school, right. And of course, if you're fresh from school, you should have that, right, show what you've done, right. But still, it's like, why? And I'm just asking people, like, why haven't you done any video games before that, right? Or even if you can't like code or whatever, I would expect you to maybe write some novel or something, right? Or if you're an artist, maybe do some DV, you know what I mean? Yeah, do some hand stuff, but kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of like my brother. He's an artist. He's a comic artist, and he was always drawing stuff, right? He was always doing hentai and so on. No, but he was always drawing stuff like that as a kid, right? And that's what I expect, right, from an artist, right? Someone that has spent the same thing, with a manga and anime fans, right? If you read about let's say Oda, right, One Piece, Ishiro Oda, right, probably the most famous, him, I guess Ryoma, right. When you read about Oda as a kid, right, he was like, I was drawing all the time, That's what I expect, right, from someone that wants to be a comic artist. They would be drawing, all the time when they were growing up, right, all the time, yeah. And So I'm a little bitter here. I'm a little bitter, but I see it more and more every year that there's so much people I meet. They want to work with game design, or especially design them, but they want to work with game development. And, you know, design is that sexy role, right? And they want to work with game development, usually design. And when you ask them, like, when do you decide do you like games, right? They're like, oh, last year. I'm like, last year? See what I mean? Yeah. And I see it is worse every year, I see. So that's why my bitter note on the game industry. But honestly, that's why I think that most games are pretty bad today, honestly. I'm not saying every game is bad, right? But I'm saying that there's a lot of... Like today there is like 1 million bad games, right? There's like 1 million bad games. And we have like, you know, a few good games every month, right? That are really good. Like so the Hawk I played actually feels really good. Yeah, this game actually, I played it yesterday, like 4 hours, but it actually flows really good actually. It flows, surprisingly flows really good actually. Better than the recent games did. So I'm not saying every game is bad, but I'm just saying that my side note reasoning here in my live stream is that I think a lot of games are bad because they're produced by people. They don't actually have that true passion that we had earlier. I think passion is a word that's overused, but I think it comes from that. There's a lot of people today that just want to do gaming, or they want to do anime, or they want to do comics, right, so on, because it's really cool, it's really trendy, and they just decide to do it when they're grown-ups, right? They're like 30, and they're like, I want to do video games, like kind of like that. It's like, what have you ever been playing for? You know what I mean? And it's kind of strange, right? But as a side note, but that is at least something I'm thinking about. If I had the channel right, to use a rant about stuff, but it's interesting. You know, this is what you get from me from my live stream videos. I always rant, right? I always get some rant eventually, but it's something I've been thinking about. Especially I talked to my, I can't say too much here, but my current boss, right, about the CEO of the company, about this last week, who we should hire and so on, right? And he said the same thing. It's like, man, I don't like the young people. He said the same thing. He's like, yeah, I don't hire any 20-year-olds there and can't do shit, yeah. he's the same way. He's like, oh, I don't like young people, yeah. Kind of like that, right? But it's, I think one thing too, and this has to do with anime too for that matter, right? It has also to do with anime and gaming and so on, and you know waifus in general. Like, I think one other thing too is that, and this is kind of what you find in a lot of anime forums, so on, like Discord channels, whatever, right? Is that you have the people, right, that are in my age or even older, right? I'm not even the oldest anime fan, right? I'm middle-aged, right? But you find other people in the older and so on, and those people that are into anime, they're usually really into anime, like this, right? You know what I mean, right? If you find people that are usually in the older demographic of anime fans, that means a lot of things, because the way I look at it, which is a harsh way to look at it, a mean way to look at it, what I call it, right? This kind of way to look at it, is because a lot of people like in my age, if you're into anime, right? Especially in my home country, we all have Sailor Moon, basically. They have Sailor Moon and Star Trek, right? When I was a kid, basically. The first thing there. And then we had like Tenshinmoyo in the US, but no one's done away. We had these animes. That was all the animes you had, right? So to be an anime fan when I was a kid, right? So I grew up as an anime fan, right? Manga, anime, and gaming, right? In like the 90s, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? To be a kid in the 90s, being an anime fan, that was way harder than being an anime fan today, let's be honest. No, but you know what I mean? But that to me is one thing too, honestly, that I think shapes people, honestly, right? Because if you were an anime fan back then, you were really into it. Like, if you were into video gaming and anime and so on, yeah, in the 90s, you were bullied and you were ridiculed and so on, right? So you had to really fight through it, right? And I mean, in one way, it is good today that people are, of course, not bullied, or, I mean, they probably are still, though, but I mean, to a lesser extent, right? It's less bullying and so on, right? For being into anime and gaming and Spider-Man and comic and so on, right? Yeah. It is less of that today, which is good generally. Of course, it's good. But at the same time, though, it makes a lot of people, and this is going to be like super gatekeeping now, but it makes a lot of people, though, in a sense, be a little more, just like, I just want to, work with the anime or something. It's a little more of that, right? At least where I come from, in my home country, because in my home country, we didn't have like anime until like 2005, basically. We had like no anime. We had to, like, I mean, I was buying, VHS tape anime. I was ordering, VHS tape anime from like Japan and so on. You're talking about really old school anime. I had to like get the animes and put it on a tape, and and it was only in Japanese, and there was no subtitle. I was watching anime like that, right? Yeah. So you were really into it, right? You were paying so much money for your VHS anime tape. You're paying like several times the value, right? You had to import it from Japan usually, or maybe from US also. You had to and so on. So you had to pay more money to per episode, right? So you were like, whoa, you were really into it, right? And I think that's it's bad or bullying and so on, right? But the good stuff of that, arguably, is that if you live through if you live through that age, right, and then you get older, that those people like me, I would say, you're really into it. Obviously, all my merchandise. No, you know what I mean. Like you're really into it. Where I feel some people today are a little bit like, well, it's kind of, and that's fine. It's something, it's nothing wrong being just kind of half-ass into gaming. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's a hobby. You don't have to be into it. I think the problem is arises from, this is my indie rant here, but I think that is my opinion, is why there are so many bad games. Kind of. Short story, but basically, I did on a video about this one day, right? When I kind of summarized my thoughts more, what I'm thinking about right now, because that is my simple answer to the people ask me a lot, like, why are there so many bad games, right? Why are there so many half-ass stuff? And I think that's the answer why. Well, it's because there's a lot of people, and every year there's more and more people that are, they're kind of into gaming, but they're not really into gaming. See what I mean? Like they aren't like, like I live and breathe gaming, right, to speak, right, and anime and so on. And they're a little more like, they kind of enjoy it. They play World of Warcraft, they play Dota, right? They kind of enjoy it, but they're not really into it. They don't know the difference between, Cloud or, Tiles or whatever. They haven't played these games, right? They play like one FF15 maybe, right, to speak, right? And that's what side story I have to say here too, for that matter, right? Short side story, but I have to go to the gym now. But short side story, good step I think. When I went to college, right, and you meet, because I love, I love my JRPG, right? Tony Hawk is ruining my title, but I love my JRPGs, yeah. I love my JRPGs, right? And of course I played Final Fantasy, I played, all the Mana games, right? Katarina here, and I played, Legend of Mana, Suikoden and so on, right? Like, and actually, I thought about it on the video, right? But the reason why I'm into anime and so on, right, manga and so on, isn't from just watching manga and anime. It started by playing, Japanese role-playing games, right, Final Fantasy and so on, right. And then I was like, wow, I love the storytelling, I love the characters, I like the way they did, the storytelling. Basically, I thought better, I think, right. I was like, I really prefer the storytelling, right, in these games. What more is from Japan, right? What is more from Japan? And I was like, okay, we have these games, then we have anime. So it was kind of like that, right? So I kind of went, that's kind of angle how I entered into, finding manga and anime, right? Actually, mostly. I mean, I had some anime as a kid, but primarily it was actually for playing all these year games, right? But anyway, when I went to college then, you can find that you kind of feel the same thing there, right? I thought about this in another video, but not only that everyone in college or into anime, whatever, also played games, right, in these kind of games. So there's a similarity there too. But it's also interesting that when I met a college classmate, right, and asked him, oh, do you play this genre? Okay, let's say JRPG genre, right? And he would be like, yeah, and not only would it be, oh, I play Final Fantasy, right? He would be like, oh, I play Suikoden, I play Legend of Mana, right? I play, Dragon Story, right? That would be your answer 20 years ago, right? When I was in college 20 years ago. People would be like, if you play JRPG, you play them all. Soul Nomad, Ogre Battle, right? It's always so on, right? Breath of Fire, of course, and what more of it? Sea of the Stars, Star Ocean, Wild Arms, man, the music in Wild Arms, right? So people would, if you met a college kid, back in the early 2000s, right, or so on 2000, yeah, they were playing JRPG. They played all of them, right? Yeah, they played all of them, right? They were like, whoa, this is the shit. This is the best genre ever, yeah. Talk to a college kid today. Talk to an 18-year-old kid today and ask them, do you play JRPG? And they're like, yeah, I play Final Fantasy. And like, yeah, it's good. Do you play any other JRPG? You're like, no, I play Final Fantasy. So I think that's the difference, right? Like today it's like, people are like, oh, of course I play F7 Remake. It's a good game, right? F15, yeah. But it used to be that if you were really into gaming, right, back in 10 plus years ago, they would usually have played all of the games, right? They would play the whole genre of games, right? I'm not saying that everyone played every game, right? But I mean, if you liked that genre, you would have played basically the whole genre, right? And if you liked another genre, you would have played all those genres, right? If you liked RTS, you would have played Age of Empires, StarCraft, Warcraft, all of them, right? You wouldn't just play the biggest one right now. But I think one thing too is because in the youth's defense though today is that because they have so many big games today, right? Like Fortnite and so on. I think a lot of people just play the same game, right? It kind of constitutes people's You can accumulate people into one group though. I think that's one reason too as well though. A lot of people play the same game, right? The same one big game. So, but still, yeah, short rant there. But I don't know. I was just thinking about this thing, right? Because I'm also thinking a lot by why do we have so many games that are. But that's my answer, right? I think that there's so much people today that are working with games. Just because it's kind of like it's a fun work kind of thing, where in my generation you kind of had to fight through bullying, fighting through this thing, right? Fighting through your parents not knowing what gaming is or anime is, so right? Fighting through, you try to explain what is this thing to your mom, whatever, right, so to speak, and no everyone knows stuff, right? So if you living through that before me, you had a different look at it. You were really into it. You were really dedicated to making the best possible experience, right, for the people. And today it's a mixture of, it's more money into it, so it's more, people just want to make money, but it's also the mixture. I think a lot of people just kind of want to be they just kind of want to be in it, right? Not really, but not because they have to, so to speak. I think that's kind of where I feel probably. Like but the reason I want to, work on this kind of creative endeavor because I kind of need to, right? I have like a desire to create the stuff. I have a strong desire, right, to write, storytelling, creative characters, and taking up cool storylines, right, betrayals, love stories. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think I have a strong desire for that, right? Where I feel a lot of people, other people are kind of like they're just doing it to pay the bills. And for me, it's like no, I have money to pay the bills, but I want to make something else. I want to create something, right? Something like that. Anyway, rant mode over, but yeah. That's the guess with Myrmonden's live streams, like this kind of live streams. They're always ranty. That's how it should be. But anyway, yeah, next live stream, talking about all the animes. I'm gonna sit down probably tomorrow, probably on Saturday, watch through all the anime trailers. And then I'll make up a lot of nice, funny jokes about new animes, and and I keep saying that Golden Kamuy is only good thing anyway. But yeah, that stuff. Of course, tomorrow we have Usagi-chan. Fortunately, one of them was removed last week, so seems to be fine. That one, little scary, right? When they removed one video, so see what happens. But yeah, and of course, Rent a Girlfriend. So the cringe feast continues, and different feast so on. But the other force to the most honestly this week though is One Piece. It is One Piece. Last week One Piece was amazing, right? It was this one of the saddest moments of the One Piece, arguably the darkest part of One Piece, and seeing Zoro's rage there in the end was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to the continuation of that this week, of the smile fruit and Zoro's anger and so on. It's one of Oda's best work, I feel. The smile truth is really good. So yeah, that's gonna be. I'm really excited to see that actually, more of the Zoro report. But anyways, see you guys in a few hours on Twitch. Otherwise, I'm gonna take a break now, but probably be on Twitch in about 2 hours from now and play some Tony Hawk. So I'll see you guys and have